Getting beat on. I realized I don't think I have it anymore because I got the ability to stay in shape, but I don't got the fighting guts, I don't think, anymore.
Mike Tyson, after decades of dominating opponents and wearing the boxing crown as if it were custom-made for him, has ended his illustrious career, not with a triumphant victory, but with a stunning humiliation.
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just
Like scripted in what way?
no, I don't know. I actually really like Jake Paul. It just seems so it's odd.
What brought down the baddest man on the planet? Was it age, injuries, or something else? Surprisingly, it was money. Mike Tyson's legendary career didn't just end, it crashed spectacularly in a scripted fight against a YouTuber half his age. The big payday came with a price, a tarnished legacy, and even a lawsuit. Watching Tyson's career fall apart in front of millions was heartbreaking. The once unstoppable force who sent heavyweights flying with punches that could shatter walls was reduced to struggling against Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned boxer. It was a sad, surreal sight.
Later this fall, he is back in the ring at age 58 to pummel a kid from YouTube. Watch Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live November 15th on Netflix.
The fight on November 15, 2024 wasn't just a loss, it was a spectacle that made even Mike Tyson's most devoted fans cringe. Once a walking knockout machine, a boxing god, Tyson managed only a laughable 18 punches across 8 rounds. In his prime, he would throw 40 to 50 punches per round with ease. Watching him reduced to such sluggish, almost slow-motion action felt like watching an old action movie with the fight scenes stuck on pause. Jake Paul, 31 years younger and still a relative newcomer to boxing, looked more like a babysitter than an opponent. It was obvious he was holding back, as if knocking Tyson out would have been bad PR. The whole thing felt less like a boxing match and more like a bizarre celebrity charity event, except the only thing being raised was public embarrassment. And we have to address why Tyson and Paul even stepped into the ring in the first place. Money. Cold, hard cash. Tyson walked away with $20 million from this circus. At that price, can you blame him? Who wouldn't take that deal, even if it meant becoming a meme for eternity? But was it worth it? His legacy, the thing that made him a living legend, is now tied to a loss against a YouTuber. YouTuber. It's like watching a legendary 80s rock band playing for tips at a local pizza joint. It just feels wrong. And the fans? They were furious. Some called the fight outright elderly abuse. Others labeled it a scripted circus, especially after a supposed fight prediction leaked online that suspiciously matched the event's play-by-play. For those who idolized Tyson, this wasn't just a defeat, it was an unthinkable fall from grace.
Drop his hand down when it was clear as day that Jake's face was wide open to receive it. Bro, this is disappointing.
The internet erupted with conspiracy theories faster than you could say rigged. Fans who bet real money on the fight expected Tyson to at least land some of his trademark power punches. Instead, they got sluggish jabs and awkward footwork. The only thing knockout-worthy about the fight was how quickly fans poured down Tyson's legacy afterward. But this wasn't just about the fight, it was about everything that followed. Tyson's life outside the ring became just as chaotic. His wife, Leia "Kiki" Spicer, reportedly stepped in and said, "That's it." She pulled the plug on his career, prioritizing his health and what little was left of his legacy. As for Tyson himself, he seemed torn. One day, he hinted at a possible comeback, even playfully calling out Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. The next day, he was backpedaling, saying, "I don't know if I'll fight again. It depends on the situation." What situation?
I'm just fighting to take care of my bills, basically. I don't have the stomach for this kind of no more. I'm more conscious of my children and those guys looking at my appearance. I don't have that ferocity. I'm not an animal anymore.
The saddest part is that this isn't how Mike Tyson was meant to be remembered. He was supposed to be the unstoppable force that crushed legends, not a former champ chasing one last payday against internet stars. Tyson's final fight wasn't just a loss, it was a public humiliation, neatly packaged in an official-looking scorecard. The numbers told the story: 80 to 72, 79 to 73, 79 to 73. A unanimous decision so lopsided, it felt like the judges were drafting Tyson's boxing obituary in real time. These weren't closed rounds. Jake Paul, 31 years younger and far less experienced, dominated from the opening bell to the final minute. Watching Tyson, the man who once sent opponents to another dimension within seconds, get outclassed like this was nothing short of heartbreaking.
I seen him a little bit tired. I didn't want to put too much hurt on him, but I wanted the fans to get a good experience. But there was a point where all of my aggression and like super violence and like I'm gonna knock this guy out and show him, it went away when I wasn't getting hit.
What made it even worse was that Jake Paul didn't even go full throttle. It was painfully obvious he was holding back, almost as if he was sparing Tyson from an even worse fate. This wasn't about respect, it was PR management. Knocking out a 58-year-old boxing legend would have turned the internet against Paul faster than you can say cancel culture. Instead, carrying Tyson through 8 rounds kept the spectacle alive without making it unbearably awkward. Though, let's face it, the entire fight was one long awkward moment. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were heartbroken. This wasn't how Tyson was supposed to go out. Watching him struggle to land punches while taking jabs from a YouTuber felt surreal, like seeing your childhood hero trip over his shoelaces on live TV. The once indestructible, baddest man on the planet looked like a shadow of himself, moving slower than Wi-Fi on a bad day. For fans who still believe Tyson had one last thunderous punch left in him, this was a harsh reality check. Spoiler, he didn't. But Tyson's struggles didn't end in the ring, they only got worse outside of it. Just weeks after the fight, he was hit with a $1.6 million lawsuit from Media, a Cyprus-based company promoting Rabona Sportsbook and online casino. Their claim? Tyson allegedly breached a promotional contract tied to the fight because Netflix sponsored the event instead, and it didn't stop there. While Tyson dealt with that mess, Netflix found itself tangled in a monstrous $50 million class action lawsuit. Apparently, their live stream of the fight was as reliable as Tyson's jab that night. Over 990,000 viewers experienced glitches, blackouts, and buffering so bad they probably thought the event was being streamed over dial-up. Fans who paid top dollar for pay-per-view were outraged, feeling cheated, and demanded compensation. It was a disaster in every sense, inside the ring, outside it, and on screens worldwide.
Reason and one reason only, and that is the money. That is the money. He paid so much money to do this. So that tells me he's getting bought. So again.
And so, Tyson's career didn't end with a knockout punch or a standing ovation. It ended in a courtroom, buried under legal complaints, breach of contract allegations, and class action lawsuits. A legendary boxing run that deserved celebration was instead overshadowed by broken deals and furious fans demanding refunds. Tyson's final opponent wasn't Jake Paul. It was a relentless mix of bad decisions, lawsuits, and a tarnished reputation. This time, there was no bell to save him. After watching her husband endure 8 excruciating rounds against Paul, Spicer reportedly decided enough was enough and drew the line.
People don't understand what a champ he was. Like he wasn't just the heavyweight champion of the world. He was an executioner.
Truly.
Every fight was just a matter of how long was it going to last.
Let's talk about Tyson's legacy, now hanging by a thread thinner than Jake Paul's credibility as a serious boxer. Boxing legends like Evander Holyfield and Buster Douglas didn't mince words, calling the Tyson-Paul fight a disgrace to the sport. These were men who faced Tyson in his prime, back when he was a human wrecking ball. Seeing him reduced to a stumbling shadow of his former self hit harder than one of Tyson's famous uppercuts. Fans who grew up idolizing him were left wondering, asterisk, is this how we're supposed to remember the most feared boxer of all time, asterisk?
Came out afterwards. He was the first one, obviously, and Mike came out afterwards, and I watched his face. I didn't watch Mike. You would normally watch Mike because he's so charismatic, and he's coming, you want to see what he's going to do. And I watched the guy's face, and I watched that confidence bleed from his face instantaneously.
Tyson's reign of terror in the 80s and 90s, when he knocked out opponents in seconds, now feels overshadowed by a misguided comeback that resembled a reality TV stunt more than a real fight. Critics didn't hold back, with some calling the event elderly abuse rather than a boxing match, a low blow even Tyson couldn't dodge. Let's be honest, this fight wasn't about reclaiming boxing glory, it was about cash. Everyone saw it, everyone knew it. The only thing more evident than Tyson's exhaustion was the paychecks being cashed behind the scenes. Fans walked away feeling like they'd paid for a nostalgic thrill ride, but ended up stranded on a broken-down roller coaster instead.
Your friend Mike Tyson tweeted that he almost died over the summer. He said, he had a bunch of blood transfusions, just had to fight to get healthy, and then his performance yesterday against Jake Paul. Just your thoughts on what we saw.
Mike Tyson was right, and I was wrong.
With Spicer's no-nonsense intervention, Tyson's declining health, and enough legal drama to fill an entire season of Law and Order, the writing is officially on the wall. Mike Tyson's boxing career is over. Done. Finished. Game over. Boxing analysts who were skeptical from the start now agree Tyson should have hung up his gloves long before Jake Paul ever stepped into a ring. Sure, Tyson's legacy will always include his terrifying knockout power and his reign as the baddest man on the planet. But let's face it, this awkward, lawsuit-riddled finale against Jake Paul is now an inescapable part of his story. Whether we like it or not, he'll be remembered as both the heavyweight destroyer and the aging fighter who stayed in the game just a little too long. And so, the final bell has rung on Mike Tyson's legendary career, not with a knockout, but with a bittersweet mix of love, lawsuits, and life catching up with him. Love him or hate him, Tyson's legacy will forever punch its way through boxing history, raw, messy, and absolutely iconic.